knew my sister's routine, the way she walked, the way she opened doors, the way she spoke when she couldn't sleep. My chest tightens when I think about it, because when you live with someone long enough, you stop questioning them. You recognize them, even in the dark. That night, I heard my door open, soft, careful, exactly like her. I didn't even turn around. I already knew who it was. But then I remembered something small, something I shouldn't have ignored. She wasn't supposed to be awake. And in that moment, something became undeniable. Whoever just walked into my room shouldn't have been able to. The door didn't open all at once. It never did. My chest tightens when I think about it, because she always opened it the same way, slowly, carefully, like she didn't want to wake anyone. First, the handle, a soft click. Then the door moved just a little, enough to let darkness from the hallway slip into the room. I didn't turn, didn't need to. I knew that pattern. I'd heard it too many times before. Late nights, when she couldn't sleep, when she needed something, water, her phone charger, sometimes just to talk. The door opened a bit more, quiet, controlled, exactly like always. No rush, no hesitation. I exhaled slightly, almost relaxed, because everything matched, every sound, every movement, perfect, too perfect. And that's when something felt wrong, not obvious, not loud. Just a small pause right after the door opened, a moment where she usually said something, but this time she didn't. And in that moment, something became undeniable. The door opened exactly like her, but something about the timing was off. She stepped inside, light, careful. My chest tightens when I think about it, because I knew those steps, soft, almost hesitant, like she was trying not to wake me. One step, and then another, slow, measured, familiar. I still didn't turn, didn't need to. My brain already filled in everything I couldn't see. Her standing near the door, looking around the room, deciding if I was awake. That's what she always did. The footsteps moved closer across the floor, same rhythm, same spacing. Nothing rushed, nothing out of place. I shifted slightly under the blanket, not fully reacting, just enough to acknowledge her, like I always did. The steps stopped right next to my bed, closer than usual. My chest tightened slightly, because she normally stayed near the door or the desk, never this close, not without saying something first. I waited for her voice, for anything, but nothing came. No whisper, no question, no reason for being there. Just silence, heavy, right beside me. And in that moment, something became undeniable. The way she walked was perfect, but where she stopped wasn't. I kept my eyes forward, fixed on the wall. My chest tightens when I think about it, because turning is a choice. And once you choose to look, you accept whatever is there. I didn't want that. Not yet. Everything still made sense. The door, the steps, the timing. It could still be her. It should be her. I just needed one more thing, her voice. Something normal. Something human. I swallowed slowly, trying to stay calm, trying to wait it out. She was still there. I could feel it. Not touching me, not moving, and just standing. Too still. Too close. The kind of stillness that doesn't belong to a person. I shifted slightly again, just enough to make it clear I was awake. That was always the signal. That's when she usually spoke. A quiet, "Hey," or "Are you up?" But this time, nothing changed. No reaction, no sound, just that presence right next to me, watching, waiting. And in that moment, something became undeniable. If it was really her, she would have said something by now. The silence didn't break, not even slightly. My chest tightens when I think about it, because silence isn't neutral. Not when someone is standing right next to you, not when you know how they usually act. She always spoke, even if it was just one word, even if it was quiet. There was always something. But this time, nothing. I stayed still, listening harder, trying to catch something I might have missed. Breathing, movement, anything human. But there was none. The air felt wrong, heavy, like the space next to me was occupied, but not alive. I finally whispered, "What?" My voice came out lower than I expected, dry, uncertain. It didn't echo, didn't break the moment. It just existed, waiting for a response. But there wasn't one. No answer. No shift. No reaction at all. And that's what made it worse. Because even ignoring me would have been something. But this felt like I hadn't spoken at all. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It heard me, but it didn't react like a person would. She didn't move, not even a little. My chest tightens when I think about it, because people don't stay that still. Not that close, not for that long. I could feel it now. Not touch, but presence, right beside the bed, at the exact height where her face would be, and where she would normally lean slightly to see if I was awake. But there was no movement, no shifting weight, no quiet adjustment, just stillness. Perfect, unnatural. I tried to listen for breathing, focused on the space next to me, slowed my own breath just to hear hers. Nothing. Not even the smallest sound. My chest tightened harder, because that's impossible. You can hear someone that close. You always can. Even in silence. Even in the dark. But here, there was nothing. No proof of life. Only position. Only presence. And the longer it stayed there, the more it felt intentional. Like it wasn't waiting to speak. It was waiting for me to do something first. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't frozen. It was choosing not to move. I didn't see anything, but I felt it. My chest tightens when I think about it, because sometimes your body understands faster than your mind. The air next to me shifted, not physically, not like something touched me, but like the space itself was occupied, focused, aware. I could feel where it was, exactly, not guessing, not imagining, a precise point, right beside my head, where she would have been standing, where anyone would have been standing, but this felt different, too exact, too controlled. I tried to stay still, tried not to react, but my body didn't agree. My shoulders tensed, my breathing changed, my chest tightened harder, because now it wasn't about sound, it wasn't about movement, it was about proximity. Something was there, close enough to matter, close enough to feel, but not close enough to prove. And that's what made it worse, because if you can't confirm it, you can't understand it. And if you can't understand it, you can't control it. And in that moment, something became undeniable. I didn't need to see it. I already knew exactly where it was. I tried again. Quieter this time. My chest tightens when I think about it. Because repeating yourself should change something. It should force a reaction, even if it's the wrong one. I turn my head just a little, not enough to see, just enough to direct my voice toward it. What do you want? The words barely left my mouth, dry, unsteady. They felt heavier this time, like the room absorbed them differently. I waited, focused, listening for anything. A breath, a shift, a response. Nothing. No voice, no movement, no change at all. But the presence didn't feel the same anymore. It felt closer. Not physically, but aware. Like the moment I spoke. Something adjusted, not in the room, in attention. My chest tightened harder because silence after a question means something heard you and chose not to answer. And then a small movement, barely there, right beside me. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't ignoring me. It was deciding how to respond. I couldn't wait anymore. My chest tightens when I think about it. Because there's a point where not knowing becomes worse than anything you might see. I turned, slowly, carefully. Every movement felt louder than it should, like the room was listening with me. My eyes adjusted to the dark, trying to find a shape, a face, anything that made sense. For a second, nothing. Just my room, just shadows. Exactly the same as always. My chest loosened, just a little. Relief. Immediate. Then I noticed the door, still open, just slightly. And something else. A shift. Not beside me. Not where I felt it before. Near the doorway. Something moving away, fast. Too fast to see clearly, gone in a second. My chest tightened violently. Because now it had been there, and now it wasn't. And in that moment, something became undeniable. Whatever stood next to me left the moment I looked at it. I got up, slowly. My chest tightens when I think about it. Because once something leaves, you don't feel safe. You feel exposed. The room felt empty again, but not normal. Like something had been there, and the space still remembered it. I stepped into the hallway. Dark. Quiet. Everything looked the same. Too the same. Like nothing had happened. Like I imagined it. But my body didn't believe that. I could still feel where it had been. Right next to me. Too close. I moved toward her room. Each step felt heavier. Like I was getting closer to something I didn't want confirmed. Her door was closed, exactly how she always left it. No light, no movement, no sound. My chest tightened, because this was the moment. Either everything made sense again, or nothing ever would. I reached for the handle, paused, just for a second, then opened it, slow, careful. And in that moment, something became undeniable. If she wasn't inside, then whatever was in my room had nowhere else to come from. The room was still, completely. My chest tightens when I think about it. Because the second you open that door, you expect an answer, a reaction. Something that explains everything, but nothing changed. She was lying in bed, exactly like always, turned toward the wall, blanket pulled up to her shoulders, breathing slow, deep, real. I stepped closer, and then another step, listening, checking. Her chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm, natural, not forced, not fake. She was asleep, fully asleep. My chest tightened harder, because that meant one thing. She hadn't gotten up. She hadn't walked into my room. She hadn't opened my door. She hadn't stood beside my bed. I leaned closer, letting my eyes adjust to the dark. Everything looked normal, too normal. And that's what made it worse, because now there was no explanation left. And in that moment, something became undeniable. If she had been here the whole time, then someone else had been standing next to me. I moved closer to the bed, slow, careful. My chest tightens when I think about it, because I needed to be sure, not just assume, not just believe. I needed proof. I leaned in slightly, watching her face, trying to catch something wrong, something off, anything that didn't belong. But nothing changed. Her expression was calm, relaxed, empty, the way it always is when someone is fully asleep. No tension, no awareness, no reaction to me being there. I listened again, focused only on her breathing, counting it, matching it, trying to find a break, a hesitation, a moment that didn't feel real, but it stayed steady. Perfect, uninterrupted. My chest tightened harder, because the more I checked, the more certain it became. She hadn't moved, not even once, not recently, not at all. And that meant whatever stood next to me before wasn't her, not even close. And in that moment, something became undeniable. I hadn't mistaken her for something else. Something else had mistaken itself for her. I looked back at the door, slowly. My chest tightens when I think about it, because sometimes the smallest detail breaks everything. But the door hadn't moved, not even slightly. Still in the same position, same angle, same quiet stillness. I stared at it, trying to remember, trying to replay everything. The sound of my door opening, the footsteps, the presence beside me. It all felt real. Too real to question. And yet, this door hadn't changed. No sign it had opened. No shift. No sound. Nothing. I stepped back, eyes still locked on it. Because if she had come into my room, this door should show it. Something. Anything. But it didn't. It looked untouched, like it had never been opened at all. My chest tightened harder because now the path didn't exist. There was no way for her to leave this room, no way to reach mine. And in that moment, something became undeniable. Whatever came into my room didn't come from here. I stepped back into the hallway, slow. My chest tightens when I think about it, because leaving her room should have felt like relief. It didn't. The hallway was darker now, quieter, like the house was holding something back. I turned slightly toward my room, and that's when I heard it. The same sound. My door, opening, soft, careful, exactly the same as before. My chest tightened instantly, because I was standing here, not inside, not in bed, watching, listening, and it was happening again. Perfect, unchanged. The handle, the slow movement, the silence after. Then, steps inside my room, light, measured, familiar. My breathing stopped because now there was no confusion, no mistake. Whatever it was, it didn't just happen once. It repeated. Exactly. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't following her routine. It was repeating what already happened. I didn't move. Not at first. My chest tightens when I think about it, because if I step forward, I'd have to face it again. The footsteps continued. Inside my room, same pace, same spacing, crossing the floor, exactly like before, only this time I wasn't in there. I was standing in the hallway, listening to it happen without me. My chest tightened harder, because now, this wasn't memory. This wasn't imagination. This was real, repeating, independent. I took a step forward, then another, slow, careful, trying not to make a sound, trying not to let it know I was here. The steps stopped right next to my bed. Same position, same place it stood before. My breathing went shallow, because now it wasn't just copying the moment, it was placing itself in it. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It didn't need me in the room. It could take my place without me. I stood in the hallway, frozen. My chest tightens when I think about it, because I already knew what would happen next. The steps had stopped right beside my bed, exactly where I had been lying. The silence stretched, heavy, unnatural. Then, a small shift, soft, controlled, the sound of someone adjusting their position, sitting. My chest tightened instantly, because that's what I had done. Right before I turned, right before I spoke. I closed my eyes for a second, trying to stop it, trying not to hear it continue, but it didn't stop. Then, a whisper from inside my room, my voice. What? Same tone, same volume. Perfect. My chest tightened violently, because it wasn't copying her anymore. It wasn't copying the house. It was copying me. Exactly. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It didn't just repeat what happened. It learned how I responded. I didn't go back in. I couldn't. My chest tightens when I think about it, because everything inside that room was no longer mine. The silence returned, slow, heavy, like nothing had happened. But I knew better. I could still feel it. Not physically, not clearly, just there, inside, where I had been. I stood in the hallway, listening, waiting for something to change, for it to leave, for it to stop. But nothing did. No footsteps, no movement, no sound at all. Just that same empty quiet. And that's what made it worse. Because if it was still moving, I could track it, understand it. But this meant it was still there, not moving, not leaving, just existing. In my room, my chest tightened harder, because now there was no reset, no return to normal. And in that moment, something became undeniable. Whatever went into my room didn't come back out. I didn't go back in. Not that night. My chest tightens when I think about it, because once something takes your space, you don't fight for it. You avoid it. I went back to the hallway, then to the living room, stayed there, lights on, phone in my hand, waiting. Hours passed. Nothing happened. No sounds, no movement, no sign of anything. Eventually, I went back, slowly, carefully. I stood in front of my door and looked at it. Normal, closed, exactly like always. I reached for the handle, paused, then opened it, and the room looked the same, untouched, nothing out of place. My chest loosened slightly, just a little, because maybe it was over. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me, and this time I locked it, deliberately, carefully, like that would matter. And in that moment, Something became undeniable. If it came back, it wouldn't need the door anymore. I lay down, slow. My chest tightens when I think about it, because going back to bed felt wrong, like stepping into a place that wasn't mine anymore. Everything looked the same. The blanket, the pillow, the position of the chair. Nothing had changed. And that's what made it worse. Because something had been here. Something had stood right next to me. And now, there was no trace of it. I turned off the light, and the room went dark, silent, too silent. I closed my eyes, trying to force it, trying to act normal, trying to convince myself it was over. Minutes passed, maybe more. I don't know. Then, that feeling, again, right next to me. My chest tightened instantly because I knew exactly what that meant. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It didn't leave. It just waited for me to come back. I kept my eyes closed, tight. My chest tightens when I think about it, because if I opened them, I'd have to see it again. And this time, I wasn't sure it would leave. The feeling stayed, right beside me. Exact same spot, exact same distance, like it had been waiting there the entire time. I focused on my breathing, slow, controlled, trying not to react, trying not to give it anything. No movement, no sound, nothing it could use. Seconds passed, then minutes. I don't know. Time didn't feel normal anymore. But the feeling didn't change, didn't move, didn't get closer. Just stayed. And that's what made it worse. Because movement is predictable. Stillness isn't. Stillness means choice. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't waiting for me to see it. It was waiting for me to react. I didn't open my eyes, but I knew it moved. My chest tightens when I think about it, because some things you don't see, you feel. The air shifted, subtle, closer, not touching, but almost, like something leaned in, right next to my face. I held my breath, trying to disappear, trying not to exist in that moment. But it didn't stop. The presence changed, not stronger, not heavier, closer, more precise, like it wasn't just near me anymore. It was focused on me. Then a sound, soft, right beside my ear, my own breathing. Same rhythm, same pace, perfect. My chest tightened violently because I wasn't breathing like that, not anymore. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't just copying what I did before. It was copying me in real time. I kept my eyes closed. I didn't want to hear it. My chest tightens when I think about it. Because once something speaks, it becomes real in a different way, closer, personal, irreversible. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, a whisper right next to my ear. Are you awake? My chest tightened instantly. Because it wasn't her voice. It wasn't my voice. But it wasn't unfamiliar either. It sounded built. Like something made from pieces it had already heard. Soft. Careful. Almost correct. I didn't answer. Didn't move. Didn't breathe properly because now it was trying something new. Testing. Waiting. Then, again. Closer this time. Clearer. More confident. Are you awake? My chest tightened harder because the second time, it sounded more natural, more real, more like someone who belonged there. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't just copying anymore. It was learning how to sound real. I couldn't hold it anymore. My chest tightens when I think about it, because not knowing became worse than anything I might see. I opened my eyes, slowly, carefully, expecting something, anything, a shape, a face, a shadow. But there was nothing, just my room, dark, still, exactly the same. My chest loosened, just for a second. Relief, immediate. Then I noticed something, the space beside my bed, empty, but wrong, like something had just moved, too fast to see, too close to catch, gone. The moment I looked, my chest tightened violently, because now I knew exactly what that meant. And in that moment, something became undeniable. It wasn't avoiding me. It was avoiding being seen. The scariest part isn't what you see. It's what you almost see. My chest tightens when I think about it, because something doesn't need to be visible to be real. It just needs to be close. At first, it copies someone you trust. Then it copies your space. Then you. And the moment you realize that, it's already too late. Because you don't know when it started. You don't know how long it's been there. And you don't know if it ever leaves. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't move. I didn't turn around again, because now there was only one thing I knew for sure. And in that moment, something became undeniable. If something can stand next to you without being seen, it doesn't need to hide. It just needs you to stop looking. Thanks for watching. Now think about this. If someone walked into your room at night and you didn't see their face, would you still know who it was? Or would you just assume? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because some things don't need to be seen to be real.